Good afternoon, YouTube. This is my new bass rig. So everything here I have just acquired. This cab, a lot of you bass players will know and love these. This is an Ampeg 8x10, the classic, the fridge. It's an absolute monster, pretty much indestructible, and it's not about the amount of noise you can put out of it, although admittedly you can throw 800 watts through this and absolutely deafen everybody. It's about the fact that this is designed in a certain way and has a certain sound that just works perfectly in a mix, and I've wanted one of these for a long time and finally justified it and got one. And I've already used it in a couple of mixes with absolutely no EQ whatsoever, and it's just fit perfectly. Not saying that I'm being kind of stubborn and saying mustn't use EQ, but it just didn't need it. I mean, you can see there's an AKG D112 mic in front of one of the speakers. I'm not using that today. I'm actually just using this clip mic just to give you an idea of what this sounds like in the room. Now, the amp is also new. This is a Tech21 Landmark 300. Now, this is fantastic, and it's a real shame they don't make these anymore. I had to really go out of my way to find one. A lot of bass players will know the Sansamp. The Sansamp bass driver is the little pedal, and you stick it in front of any amp and it really gives it some guts. But you can also use it as a really great preamp. Now, I did some research on these and found that one of my heroes, Giddy Lee, used the Sansamp RBI rack unit. And with me using a rack setup because it's easier to lug about, I ended up with one of those. And it sounded pretty good. But then I found out that there was another Sansamp called the RPM. And it's got a much cleaner, much smoother kind of sound. And then I found out about the Landmark, and the Landmark is both of those together with a power amp section as well, so the whole thing can drive a cab, as well as having the Sansamp output on the back of the unit, so you can just go straight to front of house with this tone and not have to mic up the cab if you don't want to. Or you can mic up the cab for that ultimate studio tone, depending on the situation. Now, the way that I have this set up is that it has two channels, and channel 2, counterintuitively, is the cleaner one, is the RPM. And that has this lovely kind of big clean sound, which you can use for that very tool-less kind of that kind of thing. Yeah, so you can go for real clean, or if I'd roll the treble off here, I can go for anything from that kind. I can end up with a pretty dubby kind of tone without doing very much work at all. All I did there was roll my treble off. Didn't even roll it all the way off. Now, channel 1 is the RBI tone, and this I have set to be very gainy. I mean, it's Lemmy in a box. It's kind of but the way that I've set this, and I mean, there's plenty of scope to play around with that. I wouldn't really use that on its own, but one of the great things about this setup is there's a button on the foot switch called Mix, and that runs them both. And the way I've set it, the cleaner channel, the RPM channel, is slightly louder so that I get a bit of grit coming through from the other channel, but it's not masking everything. So it goes from clean to gritty. And you hear how it's got that kind of rock and roll attitude, that but it's not just fuzzy. It's not lacking in definition. It's got the definition and the bottom end and the grit. And for me, that's a fantastic rock and roll bass tone right there. It might sound a little too distorted for a lot of people, but you'd be surprised. As soon as you put heavy rock guitars on there, the bass gets lost. And what you won't hear on most bass tracks is just how much grind and grit is going on in there. And they balance everything out. And if you've got a good bass player with the right rig, you can make the guitarists sound 10 times better because you're backing them up with that kind of... that heavy, raw kind of thing. And this can do anything from this kind of grindy tone all the way to R&B, super clean pop, and anything in between. And this is now going to be one of the centerpieces in my studio. If you want to come down and talk to me about this and anything else, any of the gear that we've got, then give us a call at the Hot Pole Studios. You're always welcome. My name's Adam Steele. Thanks for watching. Give us a like or a subscribe. Please subscribe. We really appreciate it. Every one counts. Thank you, and I'll see you soon.